Do I have some ideas for you? Yeah, and those ideas focused on how you can get past when you hear no from a prospect or even a customer. How do we break through that wall and keep that conversation moving? This is going to be a great program. I'm so glad that you clicked on. You know, when I was in the field, I heard these, and I know you still hear them. It's too early to order. We're happy where we're at. We're just not interested. Have you heard those? And the problem is, oftentimes when we hear those things and we really don't want to cause a conflict, you ever kind of just stood flat-footed and not said anything? What have we just told the customer? Yep, he or she's right. And then sometimes we've gotten ourselves into trouble where we've used the old yeah, but. And that, boy, that's hard to breathe life into that sales call after we've used words like yeah, but. Is there a better way? Is there a better, faster, and easier way to get past no? We have one, and it's going to help you put the rubber stamp of success on your career. Let's go to work. When you think about the objections that you're going to hear, you might want to just take a piece of paper and begin to write what those objections are. Typically, there's going to be around 6 to maybe as many as 10 objections that you're going to hear, right? Wouldn't you agree? I've listed just a few. One of the things that we're going to provide you today is when you think about the objection, what is your differentiation advantage that could be absorbed in the customer's mind that gets him or her thinking differently? Let me give you an example. It's too early to order. Well, do you have what I call a special seed treatment? Do you have things that you're doing with precision or new products that provide what I call a differentiation advantage for you and your customer? All the way from all bought up, you might think about, well, we have really good precision tools in our organization. If you hear too high priced, what are you doing to describe and calculate return on investment with your customers? All the way down to new products. What are some of those differentiation advantages? Let's go to work, and I'm going to show you how this works. You know, David, we're just all bought up. Now, I understand. When you were working with that other company, can I ask you, what did they ask you? I want you to think about what you just saw there. What did they ask you? Oftentimes, the farmer might say, well, I don't know, they just showed up. Think about how you're beginning to differentiate you and that other company or individual that works with that company by asking, you know, we're all bought up. Well, okay. When you were working with them, what did they ask you about? Weed control, about product placement. Think about how that conversation can begin to really build. Let's continue. You know, I'm sure your weed control in your soybeans was a big priority then, wasn't it? Well, yeah. Well, we didn't really know what to do. Think about how the conversation is beginning to develop by coming back with a question and a statement just like that. See how this works? Should we keep going? Let's do it. You know, it's just too early to order. I understand. So you're considering how early order savings can impact your break-evens, right? Boy, that's going to give that customer something to think about in terms of the statement that you just put out in front of him or her. Wouldn't you agree? These are absolutely tremendous and they'll work for you. I bet you heard this one too, haven't you? You know, if we buy from you, we're going to lose our discounts from, you insert the company. I understand. I'm sure you've calculated the ROI on that decision, right? Well, what do you mean? See what just happened? These cycle statements begin to transform the thinking of your customer in a big, big way. You know, I'm sure your price included a product placement program, right? Well, what do you mean product placement program? Think about what you get to talk about there. Instead of standing flat-footed, these will absolutely work for you. You know, here's another one. You know, I'm sure your lowest price seed is always better, right? Now, for some of us, we might say, well, the farmer might say sometimes it is. That could be. Was that a hybrid that you knew and trust? Yeah, that's it. Let's talk a little bit about those products in our lineup. These are statements that will help build your relationship. Let me give you some tips. Certainly the tonality, your voice, how you present these matter. I like to use words like, I'm just curious. I'm curious how you think that way. And then practice. When you do these, it's going to help you break through those walls of no, and it's going to help build the conversation. So now it's your turn. What are the objections that you're going to hear? What are some of the differentiation advantages that you can put in a cycle statement that I just shared with you? Practice. When you practice, you're going to have a lot of fun. Never forget this. When a farmer states an objection and you come back with a cycle statement like I just given you, typically about 16 seconds after they objected and you've begun to talk about another point that you've just stated, they've forgotten about what? They forgot about their objection. About 16 seconds. The value of a cycle statement is huge. You know, when you ask those questions, you're going to get into a conversation, where, we've been using a lot of these things. We haven't found an answer for. What would you recommend? That's your point. You're going to become more interesting, and you're going to ask the question, could you just tell me a little bit more about that? You'll no longer be flat-footed. You're going to be in a situation of getting past no, creating an awesome opportunity to extend the conversation and break through the wall of no. I'm David Dahm. Good selling.